Thank you for tuning into Abundant Moments. I remember years ago, early on in my ministry, some of the ladies from our church wanted to go to a women's retreat. So I was going to go with them, of course. And when we got there, my boys were little, and I did take my boys with me. And we got there to this women's retreat about an hour and a half away from home, from our church. And the lady that was supposed to be doing the retreat didn't show up. And the person that was in charge came to me and said, Pastor, so-and-so didn't show up. They had an emergency. And can you preach this women's retreat? Well, it was a Friday night and a Saturday morning. They were going to have two different sessions. So I looked at her and shook my head yes and said, I would be honored. And in my heart said, what in the world are you doing? What are you going to talk about? What are you going to say? And at that moment, I didn't know what I was going to say. I didn't know what the Lord would lead me to do, but I knew that if I was asked, that God was going to help me, that all he needed was a willing vessel. And we had such a beautiful retreat. The Holy Spirit moved, people were healed, just all kinds of wonderful things happened. And one of the ladies came up to me and said, you are the most confident person I've ever seen. And I just looked at her and said, well, thank you very much. And I was thinking, well, I didn't realize I was that confident. And I began to think about that. And then I realized I really was. And my confidence wasn't in me, but it was in the Lord. And when we learn this thing, that we can do all things through Christ, when we learn that God just needs a willing vessel, that is not us, then we see there's amazing things that can happen. So I want to encourage you today, put your confidence in the Lord and know this, he will enable you. He will help you. He will speak through you. He will give you the ability. All he needs is your availability as we place our confidence in him and not in ourselves. Thank you for tuning in.